It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. A lot like Christmas. Christmas. Not much happening today, I think. Treasury Secretary, official. Oh yeah, I want to look into this. This is what I want to look into. I want to look into GDP report. What's going on? Current release. Gross domestic purchases price increase. Price index. Real gross domestic income increased 2.4%. Americans spent more. Household spending is increasingly divided among wealthy consumers who are helping keep the economy humming and everyone else. Literally, guys, it's the K-shaped economy. Literally. It's incredible stuff. Saw fewer tariffs announced in consumer shopping for back-to-school goods. If confirmed, the reading that covered the months of July, August, and September would be the best quarter of growth for the U.S. economy in 2 years since the same period in 2023. So the quarter in which the president took away most of the tariffs was the quarter that grew the quickest. Huh, weird. Tuesday's number is only an initial estimate. Okay, well. The category of services figured prominently in that higher spending, with healthcare and international travel accounting for most of the gains. So people are getting sick and they're leaving the country. This is breaking news. Within healthcare, both outpatient services as well as hospital and nursing home services increased. Some of this increased spending may be putting households deeper into debt, however. Credit card balances rose by $24 billion during the third quarter from an overall level that was 5.75% higher than a year ago, according to the Fed's New York third quarter data. Consumer spending has been volatile this year, and softening labor market implies a slower pace of spending next year. Despite the data center mania, investment in non-residential structures contracted at a 6.3% pace. Manufacturing fell 6%. Brother. That's insane. Well, 35% of respondents said their finances are now worse. 41% said their situation is about the same as last year. Only 24% said that their finances are better than in 2024. Fascinating. Fascinating stuff. What is the relevance? They expected a 3.2% increase, which is 4.3%. Granted, I don't know. It seems like a good report on Al Jazeera. It is kind of interesting to see long-term bonds are basically unchanged. Long-term yields are basically unchanged. Does not bode well. I was reading into this. This is something I was looking at a little bit earlier. I want to look into this. Yeah. We'll get there in a second. First of all, how am I doing today? Let's take a look at the interesting. Mostly down. Realty income's up 1. Unity. I want to look into Unity. Unity seems so interesting to me. The big guys are mostly flat. Nvidia's down 0.75%. Not bad though. How am I doing? Intel's down 2.5. This is on reports that Nvidia is stopping their testing of 18A. Intel Corporation dropped 2.7 in pre-market trading, according to Reuters. Nvidia stopped testing Intel's 18A chip manufacturing process. I wonder how much Intel stock rose based off of that. When was this announced? This was announced in September. Granted, this was around the time the U.S. government took their stake in the company, but September-ish. Let's see if we can find the exact day. September? I bet it was right here. 22%? Wait. Let's see. September 18th? Wait, it's literally... Yeah, it literally was this day. This is the best trade deal in the history of trade deals. Intel went up 22% on the day that they're supposed to be partnering with NVIDIA, and they're only down 3% on the day when they're no longer partnering with NVIDIA. Amazing. Path is up. I doubt there's any news for it, though. 6%. Why is it getting a big boost? Oh, it's going to be added to the S&P 500? No shot. What? Oh, the S&P Mid-Cap Index at the start of 2026. Sick. Synovus Financial, which is being acquired by Pinnacle Financial Partners in a deal that is expected to close soon. That's Ubiquity. Path. Path up 6%. 7. I love this. I love this chart. This is so great. It's like, yeah, we're gonna go up 100%, then we're gonna fall 30%, and then we're gonna go up 40%, and then we're gonna go down 30%. I love charts like this. This is great. Nobody can decide if UiPath is literally the best company in the world or literally the worst. Very suspicious, I think. We're going to look at Unity later. Because, good lord. MJ's down. I guess everything in this sector is down. Ever since the announcement, everyone was like, oh, actually, this is kind of lame, you know? Nobody thought it was like the complete... Everybody thought it was like the complete descheduling of... Actually, I wanted to look at that. Here's what it means. Rolling Stone. Thank you for the paywall. Motley Fool. I can trust these guys sometimes. He signed an executive order increasing medical marijuana and cannabinoidal research, designed to fast-track the ongoing review by the FDA to reclassify marijuana from a Schedule 1 substance to Schedule 3. I don't even know what that means. This picture is from like 2016. Why are they using this picture? This is from like this is a decade ago. This is crazy. Anyway. Under the CSA, Controlled Substance Act, I would guess, the reclassification will open new channels for medical marijuana research as well as benefit publicly traded pot stocks. Wow. But when Trump signed this groundbreaking executive order, cannabis stocks plummeted. Trulieve lost 24%. Dog. Brother. 24%. Because, anyway, Curaleaf, Cresco Labs. What are these guys doing? Canopy Growth lost 12%. Crazy. The major leap forward for medical cannabis comes with an equally devastating setback for those hoping to see recreational marijuana become legal at the federal level. President Trump. One momento. Welcome back. Okay. The executive order does not legalize marijuana in any way, shape, or form, or in no way sanctions its use as a recreational drug. It's never safe to use powerful controlled substances in a recreational manner. Ugh. Crazy. So, unless a drug is recommended by a doctor for medicinal reasons, just don't do it. In other words, the president was offering a lifeline to companies engaged in the production and sale of medical marijuana. He pulled the rug out from under those, banking on eventual easing of restrictions for recreational cannabis use. MJ Biz Factbook estimated U.S. cannabis retail sales would reach $57 billion by 2028. Just $14.1 billion of this figure was projected to come from medical marijuana. So that's not a ton. While 24 states have legalized the recreational use of cannabis, the dynamics of how much marijuana a person can have for personal use or how many flowering plants can be grown at a residence can vary by state. We know all of this. There's no silver lining. Well, that's why. U.S. Tax Code 280E. The IRS is seeing green on marijuana's dime. Despite weed being illegal, the U.S. federal government has no problem collecting income tax from cannabis companies. Of course. Why not? The cannabis industry is growing like a weed. I don't like this. I don't like this style of writing. This is stupid. And investors have been more willing to jump in with both feet. The big news, of course, is the legalization of recreational marijuana in Canada back on October 17th, becoming the first industrialized country in the world to approve adult use pot. Canada appears to be on track to add $5 billion or more in annual sales once the industry is fully up to speed. Though it'll take a few years, there's little denying the opportunity that marijuana stock offers investors. Wow. What is actually happening, though? 32 states have legalized it, yet the federal laws are set up in such a way to make life miserable for cannabis companies based in the United States. You see, business, and this is why the vast majority of these companies have lost 99% of their value over the last 5 years. Businesses that sell a Schedule I substance, wholly illegal, prone to abuse, and not recognized as having any medical benefits are subject to Section 280E of the U.S. Tax Code, which was written and signed into law as early in the early 1980s to stick it to illicit drug dealers. Amazing. Without digging too deeply into the weeds, I hate this. Section 280E disallows businesses that sell illicit substances, as defined by the CSA, from taking normal corporate income tax deductions. Wow. Oh, okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. So does that mean Cresco Labs? I wonder if they'll talk about their effective tax rate. Yo, is that a vape? Crazy. They did $165 million across 71 stores. And the revenue declined 1%. Free cash flow was negative $1 million. Tragic. Yeesh. Remember the hierarchy of yeah. When companies don't have anything to actually talk about, they talk about their production sites and they talk about how they have the best market share ever. If they had cash flows, they would talk about cash flows, because cash flows, that's all that really matters at the end of the day. %77% were digital. Well, that makes sense. Population, what does that mean? State-by-state assessment? What are they talking about? Are they talking about all of the places that have rescheduled? 18.3 million? Billion? Oh, market size. They're talking about TAM stuff. Okay, I don't get it. Debt outstanding. 10 million in a short term. They do have a lot of cash in the books. $82 million is nothing to laugh at. That's for sure. Granted, they have 570 in debt, so that's not great. Thank you. Okay, you didn't tell me anything. Let me take a... I don't know if I want a press release. I kind of want... Yeah, I want a 10K. Ah, here we go. Okay. Let's talk about tax. Let's talk about taxes. Provision, okay, 37. Okay. Income tax expense was 11, $12 million as opposed to 19 million last year. Huh? What does this mean? The effective tax rate on this company is 168%. Good lord. What is happening? Well, okay. Hang on. Um That's insanity if it is. Just give me the filing. I just want to see filings. 168%. All right, effective. Okay, so they're not going to tell us what the effective tax rate is. Just tell me. 2 billion. Okay, so 2 million on I don't know how much income. Net revenue was 209. Yo, this company, wait, is this company actually profitable? Income tax expense was 2.2 million on. Okay, that's not that much. Okay, I don't. Hang on. Tilray. I'm not 100%. Like, I get some of these are like pharmaceutical companies. What does Tilray actually do? Tilray doesn't operate dispensaries, surely. Yeah, they're a pharmaceutical company. Of course, they're not going to have. Um. Is Trulieve okay? Oh, Trulieve. Yeah. Trulieve. Yeah. Weird. I don't. Can I? Okay, just give me the IR, please. Okay. Good lord. Um. Ew. Ew. Merry Christmas Eve, Stonks. Hello, Kate. How's it going? TCNNF. Okay. Uh, effective tax. Okay. Effective tax rate is 181%. I'm very well. I'm learning about weed stocks right now. This is very funny. I am well. I am living la vida loca. My busy season is over, so I am very happy. I have the rest of the year off. I am chilling. Okay, so we were... No strong streams? True. Forgot to message. Tragic. Yeah, I've wanted to stream like a lot. I just really haven't had time. Now I'm gonna be live every day forever. Possibly. And then we're really gonna build the brand. Kushco. I don't know if I want to invest in a company called Kushco. That sounds like a bad idea. Okay. Yeah, I get it. Okay, so Curaleaf. Let's take a look at Curaleaf. We're gonna pop off True. Okay. YouTube's popping off, that's for sure. I don't know what's going on over there. We're gonna read the. Please don't make me download this. Okay. Actually, I don't care about this. I care about. Just give me a 10K. Yes, 10K. Give me effective tax rate. Okay, these guys don't talk about effective tax rates either, which is awesome. I'm so glad that they just don't talk about effective tax rates. So the two companies that we found that operate dispensaries in the United States, this is TC and this is Trulieve and Cresco Labs. Both have Cresco Labs has an effective tax rate of 168%, and Trulieve has an effective tax rate of 181%. Not ideal, I think. So I guess that's kind of cool that as part of the rescheduling that these companies don't have to pay massive taxes anymore. So it's great. It's a great time. I want to read about this too. But first, it's kind of crazy. It's literally going straight up. Anyway, Unity. Form 3. Quarter 3. I want to go through their investor presentation. All presentations. I want to know what they do. And we're going to find out. And then we're going to read. Because I'm so curious. Like, okay, so there's third quarter. There's this. And then I want to read financials, quarterly earnings. I just want a 10K. I want to see what the company does. I want to see why they're doing it and how they're making money. Okay, Form 10Q Unity Group. Revenues. They've doubled their revenues in the last year, which is very cool. They have 100x their net income. That's fascinating. Granted, this is supposedly a real estate company, or a REIT, but I am somewhat suspicious. Okay, can I get... Okay. Organization and description of business. Unity Group. Unity is a premier digital infrastructure company with approximately 240,000 fiber route miles across 47 states. The company serves more than 1.1 million customers, including more than 500,000 residential fiber customers, with a network that includes 1.7 million fiber-equipped households, predominantly situated in the Midwest and Southeast United States of America. The company offers a full suite of advanced communication services, including fiber-based broadband to residential and business customers, managed cloud communications, and security services for large enterprises and government entities across the U.S. Okay, so that's going to be interesting. What do you mean government entities? And are those guaranteed contracts? Because if those are contracts, that's pretty good. And tailored waves and transport solutions for... Wait, what? Tailored waves and transport solutions for carriers, content providers, and large cloud computing and storage service providers in the U.S. and Canada. Our operations are organized into 3 business segments: Kinetic, Unity Solutions, and Fiber Infrastructure. See notes 8 and 12 for additional information regarding the company's business segments. Okay. First of all, is it UI? No. Again, it's unit. Okay. So this company is a $1.7 billion market cap company. They're called Unity Group Inc. Delaware. Don't know why that is, but they've fallen 75%. However, since 2024, they've gone up 150%. So it seems as though they're reorganizing their business a little bit. They're reorganizing things, and maybe they're getting a little bit better. So that's why we're looking at them. Okay, and this, I think that this is the reason why. Prior to the merger, Unity Group LLC was an independent, internally managed real estate investment trust engaged in the acquisition, construction, and leasing of mission-critical infrastructure in the communications industry. Old Unity managed its operations within 2 primary businesses, fiber and Unity leasing. Old Unity operated through a customary UPREIT structure, pursuant to which it held substantially all of its assets through a partnership. The UPREIT structure was intended to facilitate future acquisition opportunities by providing Old Unity with the ability to use common units of Okay, so the Old Unity was basically just like a fancy REIT for communication stuff. Completion of merger with Windstream on August 1st of 2025, pursuant to the previously announced agreement and plan of merger by and between Old Unity and Windstream Unity Group. Windstream merged with and into the company, with the company surviving the merger as the ultimate parent company of the combined company. Okay, I get it. Okay, anyway, they're just talking about the merger. What is note 8? Revenues. Okay, so this is an important factoid. Unity, the reason why their income is up so much year over year is because of the merger. I am somewhat curious as to what Windstream. Kinetic, formerly Windstream. Okay. Oh. Oh, okay. So I'm beginning to understand. So revenue, well, actually, current assets, they have a lot of cash. So basically, Unity Group was a REIT, and then it combined with a company called Windstream, and Windstream was a fiber optic cable owner provider. And so when these two companies combined, you now have a combined real estate slash real estate slash fiber optic cable business. Alltel. Or at least I'm thinking that's what, yeah. Fiber optic. They had the fiber optic cable network. Meanwhile, that's cool. They acquired 141 million in cash. Crazy. Good for them. Okay, so it very well could be the case that this company is mispriced to some degree. How mispriced are they? I do not know. I could not tell you. Fiber subscribers. Okay, so they have 77 million fiber subscribers, which, yeah, okay. Unity Fiber. Okay, so Unity had some infrastructure already? I'm somewhat confused. Okay, let's actually go through their presentation real quick. Maybe we'll be able to understand them a little bit better. Key priorities: build fiber operational excellence and customer obsession. Wow. Total fiber year-over-year revenue growth rate of 13%. Very impressive. Kinetic consumer fiber gross adds of 36 were highest ever. Wow. The company's only been around for a year. Kinetic consumer fiber net adds were 24. Never mind. Just kidding. 85% of Kinetic fiber footprint is multi-gig cable, up from 20% at the beginning of the year. Wow, that's actually pretty good. Fiber infrastructure new bookings MRR were $1.6 million, highest in over 2 years. Named Best North American Connectivity Provider. So, sorry. I'm curious if these guys lay the fiber and like Verizon rents from them. Maybe that's what's going on here. I'm curious. Because surely Unity doesn't manage the internet themselves. If they do, that's pretty cool. Also, this map is crazy. It's literally all over the place. Anyway. It'd be really funny if this Delaware corporation wasn't in Delaware, but they are. Okay, so total core fiber revenue. Fiber revenue is growing very quickly. It's also becoming the majority of their revenue. It's all growing. Subscribers are growing. In 1 year, they've added 100 million. They've grown their subscribers by 25%, which, okay, they only have 500,000. I'm assuming that this is 100,000 and not just like 507 people. So I'm going to assume that this is 500,000 people are subscribed to their business. Could you imagine? Here are the 500 people that are subscribed to our business. 500 customers, yeah. They're like, yeah, we have like 1.1 million miles of cable, but we have 500 subscribers. Actually, they have what did they say? They had 1.1 million miles of cable? Hang on. Where did it go? Oh wait, it is here. It's in here. They have one customer for every 2 miles of cable. Honestly, that's insanely impressive if that's the case. Oh yeah, hey, look, 500,000 residential customers. Wow. They have 240,000 fiber route miles across 47 states. Wait, they only have 240,000 miles of fiber? And they have 500,000 subscribers. Okay, that's honestly kind of impressive. They have a subscriber every half a mile. 1.7 million households. Customer serves more than... Okay, 1.1 million customers. Actually, that's an interesting factoid. 1.1 million customers. They probably go do neighborhoods, 100%. 1.1 million customers, only 500,000 of them are residential. That means the vast majority of their business is businesses, so business to business. That's interesting. That's an interesting factoid. Residential fiber is half their revenue. Good catch. Combined Unity and Windstream hyperscaler funnel represents $1.7 billion of total contract volume. Actively bidding on multiple new logo opportunities. I wonder what that means. I don't know what any of that means. Hyperscaler generative AI opportunity. Gross. Growth in digital infrastructure AI total addressable market driven by escalating investment in compute and model capabilities. Large hyperscalers including... Boo. Okay. But anyway, I like how this is just like, oh yeah, we just kind of like do this on the side. And they're just kind of like talking about it in general, which is kind of nice. Third quarter Unity highlights. So they added 5% subscribers, and in Kinetic, 17%. Wait. Oh, this is just Kinetic. This isn't the whole business. So Kinetic grew subscribers by 17%, and they grew revenue by 26%. Fiber infrastructure consolidated bookings. Okay, yeah. Penetration rate at 29%. Pretty good. Average revenue per user is $75 as opposed to $69 nice from last year. Fiber ARPU other. Stupid. Boo. What's other revenue? 2. Includes broadband service only. Okay. So every part of their business, yeah, includes broadband service only. So every part of their business is growing from broadband to actual just fiber. Now, granted, obviously the fiber bit of their business is very large. Uh, so yeah, interesting. But there is so like 10% of their business is broadband, which is cool, I guess. Kinetic has 530. Oh, okay. I think I'm beginning to understand. I think Kinetic is the residential bit, and then Unity, old Unity, was like the business, the business to business bit, which would make sense. Kinetic consumer, yeah, and the actual fiber infrastructure. Yeah, we should look at that stuff too. February 2023 issued 2.6 billion of unsecured notes with 10.5%. 10.5% for a company that is a REIT is insane. Issued 300 million, implied yield of 9%. So they're issuing a lot of debt. Honestly, this is kind of cool. They issued 2.6 billion and they had to do it at 10%, and then 2 years later they issued an additional 250 million, but they only had to do it at 5.7%, which is honestly that's a sign of a good business, I think. Um when you no longer have to when you do have to go out and do debt, your the total debt yield has fallen quite dramatically. Which means that the fundamental aspects of the business are improving. I wonder, Unity, what is this? What is this thing called? Group. Um, Credit rating. Unity Group. They're B minus. I wonder if I can get historical stuff for this. Come on, Fitch. Fitch is not loading. B minus. B minus from B plus with a stable outlook. B minus. You really can't get much lower than B minus though. Um Triple C? Yikes. Okay. Yeah, they've gotten a lot better, I think. In terms of balance sheet resiliency. Very cool. Stock-based compensation is only 25 million. That's very cool. That means they're not paying out tons of money to all their employees. Where they could be using it in other parts of their business. I think this is going to be basically the same thing. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. Yeah, it's literally the same thing. Unity USA, stronger together, built for tomorrow. Wow, they do a lot of stuff. Dark fiber. What does this mean? Unity Wholesale Dark Fiber equips customers with physical strands to enable multi-gigabit capacity. Yo. Gain an exclusive network and achieve faster time to market for secure, private connectivity between locations. You can connect to, like, locations without investing in or maintaining your own fiber infrastructure. Ideal to meet the high-capacity transport connection needs of hyperscalers and content providers, multi-site large enterprises, service providers, government entities. That's a fascinating business. If you need to connect to like sites in terms of like passing data in between those two sites, and you want to do it like privately, dark fiber, bro, this is cool. I'm sure they're not the biggest business, but like, that is fascinating. I'm curious if I can find out government. If I can find out capital expenditures funded by government grants. $8 million. Cool. Unity is a premier. Okay. They talk about some of that. Government assistance. I want to see. Okay. Revenue recognition. As a result of the merger. Come on. Segregate it. Tell me how much of your revenue is from the government. They have like two buildings that they do for the government, and they're like, guys, cash outlays for capital expenditures funded by government grants totaled $8.3 million and were partially offset by $6.7 million in proceeds from sales of equipment and certain unused IPv4 addresses. Okay, so here's an interesting fact. This is like basically no part of their business, but the company receives federal and state governmental assistance in the form of grants for the construction of long-lived assets to expand the availability and affordability of residential broadband service via direct grants or through the formation of public-private partnerships. The company has secured approximately $400 million in funding commitments from governmental agencies in Arkansas, Georgia, Iowa, Nebraska, New Mexico, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Texas, and 5 other states that will help us deliver fiber to approximately 170,000 locations. 170 million would be sick. The company expects to incur $167.8 million of incremental capital expenditures. The company will continue to seek out additional opportunities to obtain external funding for the expansion of 1 gigabit per second internet across its service area, as well as direct grants from governmental programs. So as of September 30th, 2025, the company has approximately $400 million in funding commitments. How much does this company, what's the total revenue of this company right now? We're not looking at that right now. We're on page 84. Total revenue is $722 million. And they have commitments for another $400 million from governments across the United States. Local state governments, too, which is... Ooh, they talk about AI again. Additionally, AI technologies continue to develop in a highly competitive and rapidly evolving environment. Whatever. The European Union. I said, bro, I had that video I uploaded yesterday. I said the European Union, and I could not pronounce union at any point during that video. I said it 3 times, and every single time I went union, it sounded like onion. Crazy. There's no assurance that any use of AI will cause harm to our business operations. Okay, whatever. Seriously. What is this? There have been media articles alleging that lead-clad telecommunications cable are an environmental and health and safety risk. So we may be... Okay, well... Lead doesn't sound great. Hello? Let's take a look. Let's read all about it. Where'd that go? Lead clad. Let's see if we can find one of these. Why are they made of lead? Is this like the stuff that... Oh, okay. Actually, fun fact, this company is fixing that problem, kind of. So lead sheath cabling was... So, okay. I'm somewhat familiar with this a little bit. So, when the vast majority of cabling was laid for the internet as it was beginning, it was used... Copper was used. Because that was the best thing at the time that was the best telecommunications wise. That was the best we had. And so when you laid it under the ground, you couldn't just like lay copper under the ground. You had to sheath it with some sort of metal. And that metal at the time was lead, which wasn't great. And so this company, which has been around for quite some time, has cabling like that. And so what they're doing is, I read this earlier, they are... Part of their business is going through and ripping out that old copper cabling and replacing it with new fiber connections. That's part of their business. It's not a big part of their business, but so when they say this in their SEC filing that like we may be subject to litigation concerning this, what they're saying is that because they have these old lead-clad cables that they're getting rid of slowly, they might still be, they might just be, especially, yeah. They may incur significant expenses addressing such matters or complying with any new regulation. So, Horkle, this person, Hochul, the New York Mamdani lady, she's talked about in the past, basically forcing companies to go rip up all their lead telecommunications stuff. It doesn't seem like it's a big thing, but Yeah. This might be what they were talking about. Part of this. Kathy Hochul. I don't know how to pronounce. Governor Hochul. Governor Kathy Hochul today directed the Department of Public Service, Department of Health, and Department of Environmental Conservation to immediately investigate a recent report of old lead-covered cables left by telecommunications companies and the potential public health risks associated with exposure to those cables. The health and safety of New Yorkers is the top priority of my administration, and we are using all of the tools at our disposal to ensure communities are out of harm's way. Lead-covered cables pose a serious threat to communities across New York, and I am directing state agencies to immediately launch a full investigation. Which is fair enough. So anyway, cool stuff. Not great, but hey. Okay, interesting. So, company growing quite quickly, adding a lot of fiber subscribers. They're laying a lot of fiber. They have $800 million in revenue, but they have $400 million in commitments from states all across the United States to lay fiber. I mean, it's an interesting business. When did this company go public? Back in 2015. They're down 75%. I mean, it's just kind of like a good business that's growing reasonably well. Fiber seems to be kind of like the new hit thing, in general. Press release. Let's listen to what management has to say just about their business in general. Net income was $1.6 billion. Wait. Okay. So consolidated revenue and adjusted EBITDA of $722 million. Consolidated revenue. Where are they getting an additional? Where's this? Revenue was 722. Net income was 1.6. Where are they getting this extra? Like, okay, so this is a one-time this is a one-time thing. Consolidated revenues for the third quarter of 2025 were $722 million, which means the company does about 2.8 billion across a year. Consolidated net income and adjusted EBITDA were 1.6 billion. Net income includes a one-time gain of almost $1.75 billion related to the settlement of pre-existing relationships in connection to the company's merger with Windstream. So this is like a early termination of contracts? Question mark. Wait a second. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Something is different. Something is not right here. Wait. Give me the 10Q again. Oh, via HTML. Yeah. I get it. This company, Actually, wait, that was what I wanted to look at. Okay, we need to look at debt stuff too. Um, that's a chunk of change. Good lord. Also, I wonder. Wait, what is this? This is the 10K. I need to consolidate some stuff here. Okay. I don't think we need this. We need this. We'll take this, and we'll keep that. Okay. Can I get a look at what did they call this? It's a settlement of pre-existing relationships. I wonder if they actually talk about this. $1.7 billion. What does that even mean? The total merger consideration of $2.376 billion. The effective... Okay, so that's not it. Between Old Unity and Windstream. Okay, prior to the completion of the merger, Old Unity and Windstream had several pre-existing relationships, primarily comprised of two structurally similar long-term exclusive triple net lease agreements, which consisted of a master lease that governed assets owned by Old Unity, which was leased and used by Windstream's incumbent local exchange carrier operations, and a master lease that governed assets owned by Old Unity, which were leased and used by Windstream's consumer and competitive local exchange carrier. The asset purchase agreement pursuant to which Old Unity paid Windstream in exchange for exclusive rights to use certain fiber strand miles leased by Windstream. All historical pre-existing relationships between Old Unity and Windstream were considered effectively settled for accounting purposes, and the related transactions and balances became intercompany transactions eliminated in the preparation of the company's post-merger consolidated financial statements. To the extent the settled pre-existing contractual agreement was deemed favorable or unfavorable, okay, so Windstream was renting, basically was leasing from Old Unity. And so once the two companies combined, they were leasing something from Old Unity. Supposedly this was real estate. This could be fiber optic cables, though. Oh, okay. That's why it doesn't. This is why it doesn't appear on the balance sheet. Okay. So the derecognized liabilities consisted of deferred revenue of $1.16 million, so $1.1 billion, and intangible liabilities of $133 million. Okay. So basically, that's why it doesn't appear on the actual balance sheet. So when the company says they incurred a $1.65 billion related to the settlement of pre-existing relationships, basically what was happening was Windstream had a lease obligation that they were paying to Old Unity. And the total value of the lease obligation was about $1.1 billion. And then there were some extra expenses, like $133 million related to the actual, the value of the actual business partnership. And so once the two companies combined, they effectively settled that and said, well, you're not going to continue to pay us because, you're part of the company now. And so they get the tax benefit from it, but they don't actually get the actual money that was supposed to be paid, if that makes sense. So Windstream, which is kind of interesting, Windstream no longer has to pay $1.1 billion over the next, 5 years to Old Unity for lease obligations. And so they get the tax benefit from it, but they don't actually get the money because Windstream didn't have the money. It was going to be paid. Interesting. Okay, anyway. So we've done some detective work. We've figured it out, kind of. Anyway. And then Windstream eventually becomes Kinetic. Operating margins of 53%. Interesting. And the last thing we'll look at is debt. I will say that the company says it has $604 million of unrestricted cash and cash equivalents. They do not actually have this, technically. They have it, kind of. Wait. Yeah, accounts receivable. They technically have it. When you say unrestricted cash, you're not talking about actually cash. You're talking about, accounts receivable, which is money that they're going to be paid in the future. So the company has $872 million in total current assets, with a lot of that in cash. The company's only worth $1.7 billion. They have half their market cap basically in cash. And they own $8 billion worth of fiber optic cables, which doubled from last year, obviously. So total, okay, now we're going to look at debt. I kind of want to look at what's going on here. Notes and other debt is $9 billion. So when Old Unity merged with Windstream, they took on a lot of debt. They went from $5.7 billion of debt to $9.3 billion once they added the new company. Granted, when they added the new company, they added a very large amount of cash flows as well. Because if we go back to here, they did $722 million. Kinetic was $360, so half their company. They basically doubled their revenue buying Kinetic. And a lot of Kinetic's revenue is very high margin at 43%. I mean, it's interesting. Repayments of debt. They're paying their debt down. That's good. They're not paying a dividend, which is nice. Interesting. Okay, well, that's Unity Group. I'm sure there's of course more to read, and I will continue reading through this and maybe make a more comprehensive, maybe actually make a video on this, because it's an interesting company. I do have a couple more questions, like what's the big growth thing for the how will they continue to grow revenues into the future? Is it just going to be fiber, or is it or different lines of business? That, and I want to pick apart their debt a little bit more, because that's a lot of debt. The company's $1.7 billion. They have $9 billion in debt, and and they have a very low credit rating, B-, which is makes me a little bit nervous, because B- is, I believe that this is junk. This is junk territory. Yeah. Non-investment, yeah. It's almost the lowest you can get. Their credit rating is B minus. So they have a lot of debt. They don't have a ton of cash flows. They have a lot of revenue. They have a lot of cash flow, but in relation to their debt, their net leverage is very high. Um, so I don't know. I will think about this company a little bit more, and I will research a little bit more. But as of right now, unfortunately, I must be off. I've only been live for like an hour, which is unfortunate, but I unfortunately have some stuff to do. I did want to get a Christmas Eve stream in. And so thanks for hanging out. Yeah, I will I'll hopefully be back sometime next week for hopefully longer streams too. But as of right now, thanks for hanging out. Have a good day. Merry Christmas, and to all a Merry Christmas, and to all a good afternoon.